I planned a trip to Houston, Texas for an anime convention because my ex and I share that passion. I have never done a trip like this, but I was trying to be more adventurous like her. It is about 3.5 hours from San Antonio, where we are from. My ex asks me to pack a nice outfit in case we go somewhere nice to eat. I know that this is something she wants, so I tell her that I will take her to this nice steakhouse when we get there Friday night. Friday comes, and she gets out of work a couple of hours late. This was fine with me because it gave me time to pack, prepare my dog, and bring him to a friend's house to watch him, so everything will be done by the time she gets to my place. By the time she gets to my place, it is in the afternoon, and we pack everything up. I drive us to Houston, and the trip ends up being about 4 hours due to traffic and figuring out parking. It was pretty stressful by the end because of the confusing layout of the area. We get to the hotel at about 11 p.m. After we settle in, I am messing around using a chair like a walker because I have a spinal cord injury. She wants me to try to hold her hand and walk. Surprisingly, it wasn't too hard, and we film a video of it, and I post it on my Snapchat story. At this time, it is about 1 a.m. I was suffering from an ear infection and had to take some medication. I told her after we shower I need to eat something to take the meds so we can go to the lobby and check if the restaurants are open. If not, then we will DoorDash something. She showers first, then I do. When I get out, she's wearing her dress in the mirror. I ask why she is getting all dressed up because at this point it is 1:30 a.m. and we are just going to the lobby. She asks if there is something wrong with what she is wearing, and I say no, but we're just going to the hotel lobby, and it's very late. She then insisted on changing. I suggest us to wear the matching pajama pants she got us recently. She responded by saying she let her friend borrow them, and I can just match with her. I thought this was just a lighthearted joke. Turns out it is not. At this point, I start getting messages from a few friends surprised by the video I posted of us walking. I'm intentionally reading the messages and keeping my phone where she can see them. This is because it is late, and I don't want her to be insecure. Not long before this trip, she suspected me of talking to other girls. She said I had been putting my phone down when she would come in the room, often face down. Unintentionally, of course. I was confused because I was doing this due to complaints that I was on my phone too much and would be distracted when talking to her. Thinking back, I have never got these complaints in any other relationship. I showed her my messages, and the last girl I talked to was before we even met. She was upset that I still had the messages from her. I explained that I have never deleted any messages ever, and I don't know what the big deal is. She said it was like keeping them on the back burner. We just agree to disagree. Back to the trip. We leave the hotel room and head towards the lobby. She says, "It's cold to me," and I reply, "It feels fine to me." Normal small talk, so I thought. She seems a little off, and I ask if she is tired. She says no. We get to the lobby, and as suspected, all the restaurants are closed. We step outside to see if there is any place to eat in eyesight. All we see is pretty much sketchy people scattered around in the distance. We are in the center of downtown. I tell her I am not comfortable rolling around aimlessly for a restaurant at 2 a.m., especially in a city I am not familiar with. I have also been told by friends that are locals to be careful. She patronizes me a bit, saying I'm paranoid and so on. I try to explain that it is stupid to put yourself in dangerous situations. I am also in a wheelchair. While we are outside, she says, "I think my nose is bleeding." Her nose has been bleeding recently from allergies. We also have talked about this many times before. I used to suffer from a lot of nosebleeds as well, but luckily no more. I thought we both understood that they were no big deal. I look up at her nose for a bit and don't see any blood. I say damn, and we go back inside the lobby. At this point, I am searching DoorDash for something to eat and ask her what she wants. She says she is not hungry. It is weird because the only thing she ate was fries 5 hours ago. I ask if she is sure, but don't push any more than that because I hate when it's done to me. At this time, I am still getting messages from people congratulating me on the video we posted, asking about my recovery and progress. I tell her I didn't expect so many people to reply to it so late. It had been about 15 minutes of sporadic messages. I tell her I decided to get IHOP, and she says, "Oh," in a monotone voice. I ask if there's a problem with IHOP. She gets angry and asks, why do I think she has a problem? I tell her the way it sounded, but I say she is probably just tired and didn't mean it like that. I'm finishing up ordering, and without saying anything, she hands me her phone with a different local restaurant. I then say, so that, oh, really did mean you had a problem? She condescendingly spouts, I thought since you are in a different city, you wouldn't pick something you can just get anywhere. I get a bit annoyed but settle my temper after a little confusing back and forth. I try to just make light of it. I find the same restaurant on my phone and start ordering. I ask what she wanted, and she says she doesn't want anything. Confusing, right? When I finish, I get on the couch next to her. She is texting on her phone, and I am no longer getting messages. I sit for a bit, and she is still texting, but I don't see anything weird about the situation. I assume she is texting a girl that we met a week ago that was visiting my old roommate. She lives in Houston, and my ex wanted to invite her to the convention with us. I assume and ask if she is inviting her, and she says yes. She is very monotone and not looking at me. It carries on like this for the rest of the conversation. I ask her what her response was. She got tickets. I ask what days did she get tickets for? Saturday, Sunday. I don't have any more questions, and I felt like she was busy with it, so I just let her finish texting. About 10 to 15 minutes go by, and I'm just looking around the lobby and chilling, but I realize that she is probably intentionally staring at her phone because she is usually talkative. I ask her if she wants to go to the room and lay down while I wait for my food, carefully watching my tone so it doesn't come off in a bad way. She gets angry again and says, and leave you here alone? I tell her that I'll be all right and that I don't know why she would be worried. Almost yelling, she says, if I didn't want to be here, I wouldn't be, ironically leaving back to the hotel room. I try to ask her to stop, explaining I wasn't trying to be an asshole, but she kept going. I text her explaining my intentions, but tell her it did seem like she didn't want to be there now that I think about it. My food arrives and I eat in the lobby to cool off as we exchange a few long texts. I go back upstairs and, genuinely confused, ask her what happened. She starts by saying I didn't even compliment her dress or makeup and asks if I even saw her put on her makeup and do her hair. I tell her no. I was taking a shower and thought she was doing her normal nighttime routine, explaining that it was 1:30 a.m. She then tells me that it is so hard having a conversation with me, and she tried multiple times just for me to give half-assed responses or ignore her. I am seriously confused and ask for examples. She uses the time she said it's cold, and I responded, it's fine to me. Then when she said she thought her nose was bleeding, and I didn't ask if she was okay, I tell her that is not how you should start conversations. It just sounds like she is thinking out loud. And my response is pretty much me just showing I heard her. Not to mention, these are mundane topics for conversations. Also, nosebleeds are a totally normal thing at this point. She then says I was on my phone too much replying to people and that I am on a trip with her, not them. I tell her that I just wasn't trying to ignore people that were showing they were happy for me. Also, I told her in the past if she thought I was on my phone too much, just tell me and I'll get off immediately. In response, she says, do I have to baby you being in a relationship? I'm spent at this point and say I think our love language is just a little different. She comes back with, yeah, too different. I am weirded out at the nature of this whole situation as it seemed to come out of nowhere, especially with the dress thing. I tell her that we can just go to the convention, go home, and see what happens after that. She says, I'm okay, you go and enjoy the convention with her. I then offer to drive us back in the morning, explaining I really wouldn't do this just for me anyway. She says no to that too. I go to the restroom and piss, and when I come back she packed up all her things. I asked her, is she leaving now? Surprised, she said yes, she is getting an Uber back to San Antonio. At this point, I just say okay and let her go and tell her I hope she finds someone who will compliment her dress. Childish, I know, and I regret it. To her credit, after she left, she texted me the contact card of the girl she invited. When I met her at the convention, she tells me my ex texted her, enjoy the convention with him, with a winky face at 2 a.m. This was very weird. During the next 2 days, I try not to let the trip go to waste and keep my mind off things. She is posting childish things on social media to try to get to me, but it really just made me look at her as insane. Honestly, I was only mad for a few hours after the whole situation. I was just really weirded out about the whole thing, thinking about how illogical it was. After I got back home, I gathered everything she left at my house in a bag and, being an adult, offered for her to pick it up from in front of my house if she wanted. She said no, and I dumped it. Minutes later, she asks if I think we can save the relationship. I guessed this would happen, but I didn't think it would be that quick, especially with the petty social media posts. It was bizarre, to say the least. I told her, sorry, but no. After the situation, my emotions for you will never return, and I genuinely wished you luck in the future. She began saying she would change and that she is sorry. I told her that everyone goes through breakups, and if she has regrets, just learn from it and change for the next person. She then says that she would like to see me and my dog one last time and hopes we can at least be friends in the future when she gets better. I then tell her that the only reason I didn't remove her on everything is so I can offer to give her stuff back, and I don't want to see her again as friends or anything. I also told her not to try to see me in any form or fashion, then removed her on everything. I think I handled things as mature as I could. I was careful not to antagonize her and possibly push her to do something crazy. On one hand, I feel foolish for staying so long, and on the other hand, I know if I left too soon, I would feel terrible about hurting a possibly good person. Thinking about things, I do feel a little bad for her because something is really wrong in her head. I know I cannot help, and trying to will only make my life terrible. In the end, she was a very caring, nice person that would do anything, and sometimes too much for the people she cared about. But her mental health is messed up. I gave way too many excuses for her weird and obsessive behaviors due to it being her first relationship and traumatic past. I do hope she gets help somehow, or she will never be happy with anyone.